All right, guys, welcome back into another PG or NFL DFS live stream. Sorry about that. Been so used to PGA there. Got a little bit later live stream coming here for you guys. 11:30. There was some news I was waiting on. I was really waiting to see if we would get news on Quintez Cephas and Marvin Hall. Didn't really get that news. So right now, everyone's kind of assuming that it's going to be Marvin Hall, and I'm not sure that's right. I did post this on the 9 to 5 space there. We just got to wait and see, really. I mean, it's a guessing game there. Both are going to be fine value plays. Both are going to be risky value plays. But we saw in week 1 and week 2 that it was Quintez Cephas was the guy. We just haven't received news on this. A lot of people are assuming that's going to be Marvin Hall because he was active last week. Had a good week last week. Obviously, 100 yards, 7 targets. That's great. He looked good. No doubting that. But what we do know is that Cephas has not been playing special teams. Marvin Hall does play special teams. That's pretty much how he's made his NFL career thus far, is through special teams usage. So the fact that Cephas was inactive due to the fact that he was a 0 in the special teams game, now with Kenny Galladay out, I kind of expected it to be Cephas and not Marvin Hall. Like, that makes the most logical sense. A lot of people are just going off of recency bias, going off the fact that Marvin Hall had a big week, and maybe that's parlayed into him earning the start. We just don't know yet. It's a guessing game there, and I was really hoping that we would get some great value, too, at the receiver spot this week. A lot of people from 9 to 5 Nation know that. Mikey Boy and Jerry know this. Deshaun Hamilton was going to be the receiver number 1 for that team this week. At 3.2, it was going to be a great play. Now it's not going to be a great play. We got Tim Patrick active, who Tim Patrick actually is going to be a good play this week. We saw Richie James go off and have a great week at 1% ownership. Now it's not going to be Tim Patrick this week at all, but Tim Patrick here I do like a ton. We saw him be very consistent prior to his injury, was getting a ton of targets, was getting a lot of usage as well. Given the matchup with the Atlanta Falcons, it wouldn't surprise me if Tim Patrick goes off for 10 to like 30 DK points. I mean, that outcome is there for him given the matchup. Easily the best matchup of the year for him. He's clearly been the receiver number 1 since Cortland Sutton's been out. 4.9, that makes a ton of sense. But let's get into the game-by-game breakdown. As always, guys, if you have any questions, get those in. All right, so we're going to start off with the Kansas City game. And the whole reason behind doing the game-by-game breakdown, guys, is so that you guys, if you want to play a showdown slate or if you want to do the early-only slate, you guys can take advantage of that. If there's any player props that you guys see fit when I'm going through these, you guys can make those bets as well, because for the most part, the game-by-game breakdowns have been pretty spectacular, okay? You know, for the most part here, just starting off, I don't want to play Mahomes or Teddy Bridgewater. Don't want to do that. You know, it's just not worth the risk. Given the matchup, both teams are pretty decent. No point of paying up for Mahomes on this slate specifically. And then CMC and Mike Davis. They're going to split workload apparently, but we all know the risk that Dalvin Cook had last week with him coming off of that injury. Madison was a good running back as well. Dalvin Cook just dominated the opportunities there in that game. So, you know, who knows what's going to happen. Obviously, it was a much better matchup for Cook than it is CMC after returning from his injury, but he's going to get used in the passing game a ton if they're down, which we don't really know. We can't really game script this game that much. I don't really like it. And then on the same flip side, CEH and Le'Veon Bell versus the Carolina Panthers, who on paper here, they got that 31st rank with them. That's not really accurate. Kind of like the Packers, where they just give up a bunch of big plays. We saw on Thursday night they're actually good against the run. They finally were good against the run. Now, that's not like saying that you don't want to take advantage of the matchup, because obviously they're just not that good of a complete defense, whether it's the Packers or the Panthers. They're still poor defensively, but the Panthers aren't as bad on paper as, you know, it's pointed out. Like, on paper they are horrible, but in actuality when you're watching the film, they're not as bad as it seems. So I think I would prefer CEH, but I don't love either of them. It's kind of just to stay away. There's no reason to play anyone really in this game at all. Tyreek Hill, you know, he is kind of cheap. We were able to take advantage of him kind of the last few weeks because he was priced down. You could do that again. He's always a big play waiting to happen. If you want to do that, like as a low owned GPP play, you can. I'm perfectly fine with that. And then really there's nothing. I mean, just nothing. If you guys want to be risky and play the Panthers at 2.1, I'm not saying I would suggest it, but we've only saw them go negative once on the year. And obviously the Chiefs are the best team that they played, but worries me. Aaron Moore loves his life. I love that too, man. You know, that 9 to 5 dream right there, who wouldn't love that? That's all I'm saying. When you live that lifestyle, it's just the best lifestyle. And then we got the glory game here. No Nicole Hardman for me, infamous. I mean, sure, if you want to with the GPP risk, I just don't see the point of it. So this is obviously the glory game here. There's no real point of paying up for Russell Wilson, although he's very consistent, very safe as well. So if you want to kind of pay that $600 price increase for safety purposes, you could easily do that. I don't mind that. That's going to be up to you guys what you want to do. But we got Josh Allen down here. Yes, he's kind of struggled recently. He definitely has. But 2 of the games were horrible weather games. New England and KC had 20 against the Jets, where the Jets aren't as bad of a defense as people think. It was a divisional game. Heck, we played the Jets in that one defensively. So hasn't been great though since. That's the word here. But obviously the matchup against the Seattle Seahawks, I mean, they're like giving up 100 more yards almost per game than the next best, or than the third best pass defense, or third worst pass defense, I guess, however you want to phrase it. So if you want to play Josh Allen, you can easily do that. I'm staying away from the running back situation. A lot of people might be on DJ Dallas this week, and it was a little bit shocking to see how much work he got, because Travis Homer had been the running back, not 1, but like 2 for a while there. He kind of took over the role for Carlos Hyde there for a little bit. The thing that it seemed like with Travis Homer is that he was a little bit more injured. Okay. That was kind of the surprising thing, is that, he was kind of just there for emergency situations last week. DJ Dallas still sucks in the pass blocking game. Travis Homer is much better there. Although DJ Dallas is good as like a receiving back, so it's kind of interesting. I would stay away from it just because we don't know. I would still lean towards Travis Homer just because, he was RB2 for a while there. Still is probably. So we got to wait and see. He was used as an emergency situation last week. I don't know. I don't love it either way. And then getting into the receiver situation. So Stephon Diggs, you just play him. I mean, the targets have been there, been great. One of the best matchups you could ask for. He should at least get 15 DK points. Could easily go for 30 DK points in this one. Yeah, Jamal Adams is back. That does worry you a little bit. But you still got to play these guys. I mean, they still are not a good defense either way. And then Tyler Lockett. So Tyler Lockett going against that Bills defense. What do we do against the Bills, guys? How do we attack them? Since week 1, this has been successful. Aaron knows this. He's in the chat. He's the one that kind of brought this into my attention in the offseason. You attack the Bills with kind of slot receivers, tight ends across the middle. That's how you attack them. So I expect Tyler Lockett to get used a ton. Okay, this should be, on paper, a Tyler Lockett week. 56 DK points, 40 DK points. 19.7, 17.2. The big weeks are there for Tyler Lockett, and I'm kind of expecting this week to be a big week for Tyler Lockett. And that's kind of the base set for this game if you're trying to stack that game. You don't really want to play any of the running backs. Just don't really want to do that. And then tight end wise, it's kind of risky. Dawson Knox, yeah, he's fine. He's a big play guy, just not consistent enough. No reason to play those guys. So moving on to the next game. This one is sneaky good to stack as well. Don't give me credit. Hey, got to give credit where credit's due. Fulton, who also did the Miami Dolphins podcast for us, he pointed out that defense wasn't going to be as bad as people thought. Really came out to be really true, which really benefited 9-5 last week. You take those practice reps in the offseason and kind of through all the weeks where eventually that's going to pay off. Keep that in the side of your mind for Dolphins D. Turned out to be the perfect play last week, which helped 9-5 cash a ton. But getting into this game, Denver versus Atlanta. So this one's great to stack. I mean, guys, it's phenomenal. So you could play Philip Lindsay in there or Melvin Gordon. I don't really know what they're going to do there. Philip Lindsay has looked great. If you want to game stack it with him, you can. But we'll go to the receivers here. Tim Patrick, receiver number 1 in this offense. I already touched on this. He should be in for a huge week. Calvin Ridley's out, so you could kind of do the weird thing and go double tight ends, which I hate to do. I really do, but Noah Fant is due for a TD. The Falcons have been giving up on average 1 TD a game to tight ends. Noah Fant has looked spectacular. I mean, the targets have been there, 9, 7, 6, 10. Great. He's looked great on film. Albert, I want to learn how to say his name just to flex on the people that always just say Alberto. Yeah, no, I don't think Alberto is sneaky this week. He only had 1 catch last week. So I did get away with him in 1 build last week, that cash, literally just because I got lucky that he scored a touchdown. I think it's going to be Noah Fant. He's much more healthy this week than he was last week and the week before that. You just got to go with him. And then even receiver-wise, you could go with Russell Gage in this one if you want. Obviously, Julio Jones you could go with. He should be targeted a ton. There's just so many ways to kind of just stack this game where it is appealing. And it's kind of a sneaky game here. Like, the upside's there for this game, for sure. And Hayden Hurst and Noah Fant are my two favorite tight ends on this board. You just look at what he's been able to do the last few weeks. Obviously, without Calvin Ridley last week, he looked good. At 4.1, it makes a ton of sense. Just a great play there. Then we're going to get into kind of a stinker of a game here. Phillip Rivers, Lamar Jackson, they're both not in bad spots, but they're both not in spots that I really want to attack them. Not in spots where it makes a ton of sense to pay up for Lamar Jackson, especially given his consistency. Just to stay away. You got Deshaun Watson that we'll touch on in the next game that I'd much rather play. Phillip Rivers, I do like for season long. If you hadn't picked him up yet, you should go ahead and do that. After this week, it's going to be pretty nice for him. Jonathan Taylor, this is going to be a kind of a passion point for me here. There's a lot of bad analysis going on right now, guys. I've seen it the last few weeks now. It's been kind of insane. So for Thursday Night Football, it was, I want to pull my hair out with the kind of content that people are putting out there. Just no one talked up Richie James. That was just like, what is going on here, guys? It was clear that, he was going to be in the Deebo Samuel role if he was active. Now, I think people weren't on him because they weren't sure if he was going to be active. That was just a whole nother thing. You saw that people weren't really talking up Tyler Ervin too much. It was kind of clear that he's pretty much Aaron Jones without any sort of breaking tackle ability. Tyler Ervin, you hit him, he's going down, where Aaron Jones obviously has great balance and control. Both similar running backs is the point there. It was clear to see that the Packers would go with Tyler Ervin. So getting into the point here, Jonathan Taylor did not look worse than Jonathan Wilkins, okay? That just did not happen at all, okay, guys? Or Jordan Wilkins, sorry. Jordan Wilkins had two really nice runs in the fourth quarter that were great. He just happened to be in the game. He happened to be in the game on the easy goal line TD. Jonathan Taylor had some really great runs that he kind of just snuck out that shouldn't have went for positive yards. Jordan Wilkins did look good as well. But it's clear that Jonathan Taylor is still the better running back. Film says that. The stats don't say that. Analysts that obviously don't watch film are going to tell you that Wilkins looked better. That's not true. Nyheim Hines did look great, though. Very athletic. He should still be involved in the passing game, although those were kind of lucky plays that he just happened to be wide open. Phillip Rivers put him on him, and Nyheim Hines was able to make the play there. Still, GPP, if you want to play him, you can do that. Other than that, this game's kind of a stay away. We'll say Michael Pittman Jr. is due for maybe a breakout here sooner or later. I have liked the film on him. And then tight end wise, we're kind of just staying away. Mark Andrews, no sense of paying up for him. They've been treating the tight end situation kind of weird here. So got about 15 minutes here. The profile was supposed to be bust proof for who? Jonathan Taylor or Michael Pittman Jr.? Because Jonathan Taylor, you watch it, they're not exactly using him how they should. Just a lot of weird plays. Shepard or Judy? Why? Let's see that. Shepard or Judy? That's weird. Can you pay? Do you have another 100 over there? I would go with Tim Patrick much more than either of those two. That's weird. I would much rather be able to pay up for Tim Patrick if I could. I would go with Judy, I guess, instead. Obviously, you could hit a much bigger play. Shepard has been consistent, but he's going against the Redskins, or Washington football team, who have been pretty solid against pass. I do love the targets that Shepard has gone throughout his career, though, so he's obviously a little bit safer, but I'd much rather play Tim Patrick if I could get up there. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, I will say I do think Shepard's going to be a little safer. Don't love that, though, because of how inconsistent that Daniel Jones has been. Jerry Jeudy, if you're playing a GPP, I'd much rather go him. He could catch a deep ball and go for a touchdown. So after this week, though, with JT, it should be go time for him. So the quarterback that I wanted to get on the most was actually Deshaun Watson, but the quarterback that I ended up on the most in GPPs was actually Jake Luton, which is weird. That's just one of the weeks that we have where I was jamming in a bunch of studs, and Jake Luton, I was just watching him. I think he's going to be a little bit more consistent than Gardner Minshew was. Gardner Minshew was trash. He honestly probably was the worst starting quarterback on the season, but he still was able to produce fantasy-wise. He was averaging right around 20 DK points per game. That was mostly because he was good at escaping sacks and able to extend plays, and then able to miss a wide open player in the end zone. So, we got to wait and see. Jake Luton, though, at 4.9, given the matchup with the Houston Texans where they're giving up the best quarterback rating to opposing quarterbacks, I like that a ton. You're giving me a rookie quarterback in the best possible matchup. one that should be easy. You got DJ Chark looking good. Tyler Eifert's back. James Robinson, that should alleviate a little bit. James Robinson should casually be in the conversation for Offensive Rookie of the Year. If they didn't have him, this team would be absolute garbage. Now, they're still not good, but they'd be absolute garbage. He should be 3 on that list. For fighting Minshew. Halloween there, Aaron. A little Halloween story there. But Lewin, at 4.9 makes sense. You could easily stack this game then. You could roll with Robinson in there. You could easily put Will Fuller, Cooks, Chark. I actually really like Cooks a ton in this one. Since pretty much O'Brien has been fired, 12 targets. Been very consistent. Obviously had that huge game against Jacksonville. I really like Cooks and GPPs this week. You could easily make that happen. DJ Chark I like a ton. Like I said, I don't expect Luton to miss him wide open, or at least as badly as Gardner Minshew missed him wide open. He should have at least 2 more touchdowns on the year. The targets have been there. The targets have been insane for him this year. 14 in one game, 7, 9, 4. I love him. I love him as a play this week. But it's risky because you got Brandon Cooks there, you got Tim Patrick there, so I can see a reason why you would fade him. And then Tyler Eifert, I do like value-wise there. He should be starting in this one. The targets have been there for him as well. It's kind of the same thing. Minshew just hasn't been sharp. Hasn't been able to hit his targets there. So you could easily put Tyler Eifert in a game stack, and boom, you're sitting pretty for a nice little game stack there. But I also do like Watson a ton. I think Watson's the safest option on the slate. Obviously, since O'Brien's been gone, he's been stellar. Just been a consistent producer. He should easily get to 20 DK points in this one against the Jaguars, who are not good defensively. All right, then Minnesota versus Detroit. Got a few games here. Got about 10 minutes to wrap up. Should be right on time here. So Matthew Stafford is active. So the real question is he hasn't practiced all week. So will he be sharp? Obviously, with Kenny Galladay out, it's either going to be Marvin Hall or Quintus Cephas, who he needs to kind of get acclimated with, get used to throwing the ball to again. Without that week of practice, that could hurt him. He could be less sharp. I don't expect that. I think he's an okay GPP play going against the Vikings, although I don't love it. Dalvin Cook is kind of just a lock on the slate, which I hate to use the lock word, but it kind of just seems that way. The opportunities have been insane for him. The production has been great. He could go for 40 DK points in this one, and people will be like, yeah, that makes sense. So I can't really fade Dalvin Cook in this one. Just no reason to. DeAndre Swift, I expect him to continue to get him the work. I remember the Jacksonville game. I'm like, don't be surprised if he gets the work coming off that bye. Hasn't exactly transitioned into anything since that game, which is surprising. Maybe they get that together in this game. Other than that, Adam Thielen's fine. Justin Jefferson's fine. Marvin Jones is fine. I already talked about Marvin Hall and Quintus Cephas. I expect it to be Quintus Cephas starting and not Marvin Hall, but we just don't know. Danny Amendola, sure. If you want, I honestly just think it's going to be like right around what we've seen from him. Maybe he gets lucky and catches a touchdown. Maybe we could see that, but I think it's just going to be right around there. If you just want to lock in like 7 DK points for value, that's fine. Yeah, Marvin Jones, it's weird. If you're playing GPPs, go ahead and play him. The big games are there for him. This is an easy matchup. He should be able to go off. The worry is that he had Chicago, he had Green Bay. Tough matchups, but without Kenny Galladay, I expected him to at least do something. Obviously, this is a much better matchup. If he gets 7 or 6 or 8 targets in this one, he should easily be able to get to 15 DK points. So I don't mind that. That's just an interesting game. For watching purposes, that one's interesting because I always thought that the Detroit Lions were the second best team in the division. Obviously, Chicago's gotten kind of lucky. Minnesota's coming on a little bit strong lately. It's an interesting game just for NFL purposes. I think one of those teams could end up being a sneaky team that makes a playoff push. Looking at the Giants versus Washington, I'll get to Jordan Howard in a second here. This game I don't really like. I have touched on this. Kyle Allen has looked much better than people give him credit for. Kind of has made Logan Thomas a little bit fantasy relevant. Pretty much he's been able to hit him on the passes that he's open with, as opposed to Dwayne Haskins. He's kind of been used as a safety blanket. Obviously, the 2 touchdowns have really helped him. Don't mind him, though. Nothing that I would go out of my way to get. Evan Ingram in a great spot, but we're not paying 4.3 for him. He has been a little bit more consistent here, 10, 9. After the weird kind of 2 targets against Dallas and 3 against Washington, that was strange. That was just weird. Finally got it together. If you were trying to do a weird game stack, I could see it with Evan Ingram, but I just don't want to trust it. Antonio Gibson, no reason to play him. Terry McLaurin does have kind of a tougher matchup, so I'd lower expectations for him at 6.5. Not really worth it. With Golden Tate out, I do expect, Shepard and Slayton to get a lot more targets, and that's kind of why I like Evan Ingram. So, it's okay. Nothing great there. But both the defenses are firmly in play. I prefer Washington football team much more here. They didn't do much against them the last time, only 4 DK points, but they only gave up, not that many points. They should have won that game. They outplayed that team. They should have won that game. 20 points given up is not that much. I mean, obviously, look at this, guys. I mean, nothing. So they should have been able to put up more DK points than that. Hopefully they do this week, but Giants D is going to be just as good. Chicago versus Tennessee, also kind of a decent stacking game. Yeah, Logan Thomas, he's fine. Won't go crazy with it, though. Real quick with this game, if you want to go Nick Foles as like a low-owned stack, you could easily do that. I doubt he'll get to 20 DK points, but maybe. It's a good matchup. Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, maybe he hits on a couple of those touchdowns. But I really like David Montgomery. The guy has been consistent, a very consistent fantasy producer. Tough to go away from a guy that's consistently been getting over 10 DK points in a very great matchup. I do like that a ton. Bears defense, I don't know. I can't. I don't want to play them. Not worth it. You worry about them not paying off this price point where you got the Washington football team priced up a little bit more, Giants D a little bit less. I'd much rather go with one of those two. Really, that's it, though. Nothing great here. Jonnu Smith, it's weird. He should have had a big game last week. Didn't happen. Kind of just putting him on the burner now, waiting for him to have a big week. That's it for that game. Las Vegas versus the Chargers here. Yeah, I mean, the volume for Montgomery is insane, but I'll touch on another running back here right now, actually. Justin Jackson, guys. Sneaky play, and he didn't get talked up at all. Weird. Over 10 DK points the last few weeks, and I'm just playing Jackson instead of David Montgomery because same production, a little bit more volume, especially with Troy Mayenpope out, who had been operating as the RB2. He's not doing that anymore because he's out with a concussion. So we can expect a little bit more of Josh Kelly, and maybe Josh Kelly gets a sneaky goal line touchdown. That'd be unfortunate for Justin Jackson, but what I love about him, look at the targets, guys. 5, 6, 6. Great. Didn't get a lot of rushes against Jacksonville Jaguars. That was kind of strange, but still was able to get 10 DK points because of those targets. The floor should be there for him. I like it a ton. Imagine Mike Davis in Chicago. That's a weird thought, Who would have thought that Mike Davis in Chicago would be a good fit? That's just weird. But yeah, you could easily stack this game, guys. Justin Herbert, Derek Carr, both great stacks. I love Derek Carr in cash, actually, going against the Chargers, who they're not as bad defensively as the rating says. Once again, they just give up a bunch of big plays, and obviously through the first 3 quarters, they're pretty strong defense, and then fourth quarter comes around and they kind of suck. So the problem with Derek Carr this week is that you just kind of solo him out there because you don't know who's going to be the guy. You just know that one of them are going to be the guy. Is it going to be Ruggs catching a TD? Is it going to be Aguilar? Is it going to be Renfro? Brian Edwards is back, which if you're playing a season-long league, maybe try to pick him up. I like him. Tight end-wise, Darren Waller, Hunter Henry, they're fine plays. Nothing to go crazy with. I would prefer Hunter Henry in this one if Keenan Allen was out, although it looks like he's going to be active. But you guys, you could easily stack this game as well. So real quick, we got about 4 minutes left here. So Justin Jackson, put him in there real quick. Keenan Allen, you could do that. You could do double stack at tight end, although I don't really want to. So see, this is the problem. Like Derek Carr, great price point for him. You just don't know who to play him with. So we got to go with Justin Herbert instead. This is a fine base set there. Fine with that. All right, real quick, kind of the game people are waiting for to know. We don't know what's going on here. Is it going to be Patrick Laird? Really, what it's going to be like, is it going to be the Cardinals getting up early and Patrick Laird has to play a little bit more due to passing downs? Is it going to be Jordan Howard? Just getting 12 touches, scores a touchdown. It could be that as well. Then, this guy's been getting a ton of hype. I don't know. I just don't be surprised if he makes a couple of big plays. I watched a little bit of rookie film and I'm fine with it. Nothing crazy. I don't know who to play here, so it doesn't seem safe to play Jordan Howard. He doesn't have enough of a floor because he's not using the passing game. Patrick Laird would be the one I would prefer, I guess, but I don't know. DeAndre Washington, he's not active. Then Chase Edmonds is getting a ton of hype, which I get, but once again, that Miami defense isn't that bad. Chase Edmonds has clearly been the better back between Drake and Edmonds. I just hate the price point. He could easily go for 20 DK points. We could see that happening. Tua, I'm staying away from. DeAndre Hopkins, if you want to pay up for it, you can. That's really it. And then the last game, Pittsburgh versus Dallas here. If you guys don't have any questions, I'll be wrapping up here in about 2 minutes. Well, I will be, but Big Ben, if he was cheaper, if he was at like 5.9, I'd probably just play him in cash because I think we could lock in 15 DK points in this matchup. Obviously, James Conner is the play here. We love James Conner in this one. Been a consistent producer this whole year other than week 1 where he clearly got injured. We're seeing that now be true. Against the Cowboys, they're giving up the second most yards per carry. If Conner doesn't score a touchdown, that's kind of unlucky, but even if he doesn't, he still should hit value, so I like Conner a ton. And then there's kind of a guessing game here. Is it going to be Juju, Chase Claypool? I like Deontay Johnson the most, though. We've seen him have huge games target-wise, 15, 13, and 10. And the other games that he hasn't, he's really just been injured. So if he's healthy in this one, $5,000 for him is just way too cheap. Connor or Edmonds. Connor is definitely safer there. I'd much rather play Connor this week than Edmonds. I think I'm not going to say Edmonds is a trap play because I do like him. I like him a ton. He's very talented. But Connor's just safer for sure. And then after that, if you want to play one of these guys, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, you can. Amari Cooper. This is a sneaky game that you could stack. We got, I believe it's Garrett Gilbert. Yeah, if he was cheaper, if he was 4,000, I would think about it. Just because all he needs is like a touchdown to maybe get to like 12 DK points, which would have been fine. But at 4.8, I would just much rather play Jake Luton in a much better matchup. And then it's just tough to pay up for Steelers D. You just can't do that. That's tough. But I do like Deontay Johnson as like a sneaky GPP stack. Makes a lot of sense there. I'm wondering if we've got any news on Quintez Cephas. I'm interested in that one. I'll look it up on the Twitter feed here real quick. Marvin Jones. I do like Marvin Jones as well. The targets should be there for him. We've seen him kind of be able to take advantage of nice matchups when Kenny Galladay's been out. You could really build a solid build just at the receivers at this price point here. You got DJ Chark, then you got Tim Patrick as well. So you can build this very nice build here where, let's see here, Deontay Johnson, that could be 10 targets. Marvin Jones, that could be 10 targets. DJ Chark, that could be 10 targets. And like Tim Patrick, that's going to be like 7 targets. You could do that. I don't mind that. It makes a ton of sense there. I actually wish I had enough time to put it in a build right now because I haven't done that. This makes a ton of sense. I'm kind of mad there. This would have been decent. That's what we have for doing it at 11:30. But I kind of want to have all the news in. I was hoping that we'd have some more news on Marvin Hall and the Cephas situation. I was hoping to get some clarity on the Keenan Allen situation. Didn't really get that, but hope you guys have a good week this week. And as always, guys, let's keep cashing.